welcome to the Turf and Touchdowns podcast. Week 10 is upon us in the NFL season. We're looking forward to Thursday night, and we've got a treat for you on Thursday night as well. We've got the Cincinnati Bengals travelling to the Baltimore Ravens. They met in week 5. It was an absolute shootout, one of the best games of the season so far. We're hoping for very much more of the same. Myself, Luke Elder, alongside once again Tom Collins, who's gone hat this week.
Yeah, I've gone hat. I know you noticed you went hat last week. I've gone hat this week. Again, the same reason. The hair's all over the place. Just come back from Saudi, as you can tell by the home surroundings again. And I very much need to visit the barber. So it's a hat week. Hopefully it's a winning week as well. Last week was it was 50-50 between us on Thursday Night Football. We won't talk about Sunday. We'll get into that hopefully in the podcast that we'll bring to you at the end of the week. But Breece Hall ended the curse. That was the highlight.
Yeah, the curse is gone in regards to Breece Hall. We had CJ Stroud that went over on the rushing side of things as well. And unfortunately, the Texans couldn't win on the spread. But 2 out of 3 last week on Thursday Night Football. We've got an absolute cracker this week. We'll get into that in a moment. But a shout out, first of all, to our sponsors, SBK, who are offering a 25% ACCA boost to use on this weekend's NFL matches. If you fancy my selections, if you fancy Tom Collins' selections, or you want to mix and match and put them in that 25% ACCA boost, make SBK the best place to punt on the NFL. Head over to SBK and discover all their offers, and also you'll see a lot more of Tom Collins' face as well.
Yeah, SBK is all about sports betting. I've worked with them for a long time now. There's no roulette, no slot machines, none of that. Sports betting. If you like NFL, horse racing, football, anything like that, SBK is the place to go. But especially for the American side of things, they have weekly offers, all the markets. So go check SBK out. If you haven't downloaded it already, then SBK offer a brilliant offer here with £40 in free bets when you sign up and bet your first £10. T's and C's do apply, max stakes. Make sure you're 18 plus, and please do gamble responsibly. But thank you very much to SBK for sponsoring, and definitely go check them out.
Do you know why I like SBK even more now than I did before?
Go on.
Just because they're sponsoring us.
Well, of course.
Very nice of them.
Yeah. What I should say is there's a link in the bio. If you want to go check them out and create an account, link in the bio, the description down below on YouTube. Click that straight into SBK. No Googling and all that rubbish.
Yeah, get that 25% bonus. But we will try and build up this week's bank on Thursday Night Football. Currently, the spread, the Ravens are 6-point favourites on the spread. Under over points wise is 52.5, and the Ravens on money line are 10-27. So the Ravens short price favourites. I was a little, Tom, surprised about how big the line actually was in this spot. Obviously, the Bengals pushed them close at home earlier on in the season. That game pretty much went to the wire, but 6 points is a lot to give Cincinnati.
It really is, and that's why I'm not overly keen on betting on the spread or especially the money line in this game. I suppose you could say the value is Cincinnati either way, the spread or the money line here, but I'm a big fan of the Ravens this year, as I keep saying every time we cover a Ravens game. If you go all the way back to one of our anti-post podcasts, I put up the Ravens for the Super Bowl. So it feels a little bit hypocritical to go against the Ravens in any matchup, because I do think they are the best team in the league, and they will continue to grow and get better as they go through the season. That game earlier in the year, you've touched on it a couple of occasions, 41-38 in overtime. It was an absolute thriller. Maybe you'd be looking at the overs here, but the line's high again. It's 52.5 total points. I mean, based on what I know from these coaches, they're going to be thinking back to that game where there was 79 points put up, and they're going to be going, I don't think we want to let this team run all over us or pass all over us again. We may play a bit stingier in this matchup. Therefore, I'm not going to bet in the total points. I'm not going to bet in the handicap. I'm not going to bet on the money line. Player props only.
Yeah, and there is a place to attack in this game as well. The Bengals are okay across the board. You can sort of have a go at them effectively. I'm sure Derrick Henry will have another good game. He's been fantastic all season. One thing on the Bengals side of things, T. Higgins might be out once again. It's a short week. He didn't play, obviously, last week. He was injured in practice a little while ago. It's a short week this week. They might just hold him out here. They would love to have him for sure, but he was listed as a did not practice on Monday. That practice doesn't actually exist, but they have to say what they would have expected their players to have been, whether they're to practice or limited, etc. But he was listed as a did not practice for that Monday game. However, Tom, the place to attack regards to this game is, I think for both of us, the Ravens passing game, or the Ravens defensive receiving game, we'll say, because they have been pretty poor almost for all the season, but they're getting worse.
Yeah, the pass defense just isn't the best. And as you say, if T. Higgins isn't able to play, he had 9 catches in the matchup earlier this season, week 5, I think it was. So that opens a huge amount of targets for someone else. Jamar Chase had 10 catches in that matchup, and then there was a big drop off to the remainder. Jamar's going to get his numbers. You're going to talk about him in a second, but I'm going to look elsewhere for my only bet in this game. It is on the Cincinnati Bengals side of things against the Ravens pass defense, and it's Mike Gesicki over 44.5 receiving yards at 10 to 11. That is my one play in this game, and I love it, to be honest. I know obviously I'm putting up selection, and you've got to say, well, you probably do love it, but I love it more than most that we've put up on Thursday Night Football. Look, Joe Burrow may need to throw the ball 40 plus times for the first time this season to beat the Ravens. The Ravens are exceptionally good. If they go up early, they're going to run the ball a lot. Burrow's then going to have to throw to keep the clock on their side, etc. Chase will be the main target, as he always is, for Cincy, but the Ravens know that, and they're going to try and stop Jamar as much as they possibly can. They're not going to stop him, really, but they may limit the number of catches and receiving yards he gets. That means Joe Burrow is going to have to look at the second read, third read in this offense to be able to move the ball. Not on every occasion, but some occasions through this game. Now, you've already mentioned that T. Higgins could be out. I don't really care if he plays or doesn't play for this Mike Gesicki bet. Gesicki's going to get his target share. Obviously, if Higgins isn't in, then Gesicki will get slightly more, so it's a positive. But that would mean by the time you're watching this, his line may have gone up from 44.5. However, here are the reasons why I like Gesicki. Firstly, the Ravens have given up the third most receiving yards this season to tight ends. They were actually the worst in the league against tight ends until Denver's crap tight end unit turned up last week with Adam Troutman and the rubbish that goes alongside him. And now they dropped down to third worst. But they are terrible against tight ends. They're giving up an average of 68 yards per game. Mike Gesicki's line is 44.5. So even if he gets anywhere close to that average, he'll cover. That's point one. Point two, Mike Gesicki's target share has increased dramatically over the last 2 weeks. He's had 14 targets over the last 2 weeks. In all the previous weeks, bar week 2, he had 13 targets combined. So Gesicki is now getting a much bigger focus towards him. He's caught 12 of the 14 targets, 473 yards and 2 touchdowns. He's being utilized and he's making the most of it. That's point 2. Point 3, Eric All, the young tight end for the Cincinnati Bengals, who I think has got a really big career and he's shown plenty of promise so far this season. He tore his ACL last week. So Mike Gesicki's going to play more snaps. He's going to get more looks. That's point 3. And finally, point 4, Joe Burrow passed for 392 yards in the first matchup between these teams in week 5. He knows he can move the ball against Baltimore Ravens. He knows he can do it through the air. The Ravens are very good at run defense, not so good at pass defense. So Burrow is going to be throwing the ball, and that will therefore increase all Bengals wide receivers' possibilities of hitting their overs this week. So all of that put together, I love Mike Gesicki over 44.5 receiving yards at 10 to 11 was my only play.
I was very close to putting on Mike Gesicki as well. He was my second selection in this game, per se. Quite simply, I don't care if T. Higgins plays either. From our point of view, for T, I really hope he plays. He's a very, very good player, and he'd be fantastic for this game. However, I'm going away from Mike Gesicki, albeit I do fully expect that to land, and I will be using Gesicki in my bets as well. But happy Jamar Chase week. If you've got Jamar Chase in fantasy football, you're probably going to win your matchup, because I think Jamar Chase is going to go absolutely nuclear, much like he did when he played Baltimore in week 5. He scored 41.3 PPR fantasy points. That was 12 targets, 10 catches, 193 yards, and 2 touchdowns as well. Now his line for this week is 79.5. That might go up if T. Higgins is confirmed as out. I don't really think it will affect things too much in total honesty. But if T. Higgins is out, yes, there'll be more focus on Jamar Chase. But the Baltimore defense, can't believe we're saying that this year after the last few years, they're not great. They're allowing points left, right, and centre. They're allowing yards left, right, and centre as well. In week 5 that we mentioned, as you said as well, they conceded 392 receiving yards and 5 touchdowns. 1 through the air to Chase Brown, 2 to T. Higgins, and 2 to Jamar Chase himself. As Jamar Chase also had 193 yards on top of that. At the moment, and we're talking back to anti-post picks as well, that you mentioned, I put up Jamar Chase to lead the league in receiving yards. He's about 12 to 1. He was leading going into last week, but he's currently second because Justin Jefferson had yet another fantastic week, but he's second with 717 yards. He's had 3 down weeks in a row. He's had 55, 54, and 43 yards. But they've been against much better defenses than this. Cleveland are fine. You've got Denzel Denzel Ward, who I wouldn't say he's a shutdown corner, but he's a very, very good corner. You've got Philadelphia and also Vegas. Vegas put all their effort last week into stopping the pass, and they let Chase Brown run all over them, who is becoming more and more a thing in Cincinnati. You would like to think that Jamar Chase will, yes, receive focus, but it would also be taken away from him as well with Chase Brown. This is a far friendlier matchup. The Ravens conceded last week 10 points in the actual football game to the Denver Broncos. They still allowed 122 yards to Cortland Sutton, who again is a good receiver, but he's not Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase could dominate this game. And you go back to the week prior to that, 263 yards they allowed to a combination of Cedric Tillman, Elijah Moore, and Jerry Jeudy. If Jamar Chase doesn't take over this game and absolutely take it apart, I would be absolutely shocked. I'm going double Jamar Chase as well. I'm going to go Jamar Chase over 79.5 receiving yards, and I'm going to get him to score a touchdown as well. If you want to look into the multiple touchdown markets, then that's absolutely fine. I think he's 17-4 to get 2 or more. I think he's far bigger to get 3 or more. That's not even off the table whatsoever. But I think Jamar Chase has a big week. Interesting, Tom, that we're both attacking the same area.
Yeah, well, I presume, do you think the Ravens are going to win anyway? You're not convinced?
I'm not fully... It will be high scoring. I'm not fully convinced. I was tempted by the +6 of Cincinnati, honestly.
Yeah, I see that from the value perspective. I think the Ravens will win this game, but there definitely is room for maneuver with these Bengals receivers. And yeah, it seems like we've had the same kind of vision when it comes to betting on this matchup. Hopefully we can go 3 out of 3. Jamar Chase, look, if he hits that over, the likelihood is he's also going to get the TD. So I kind of like that double from yourself. Hopefully it's not a Breece Hall rushing and TD scenario from a couple of weeks ago. But yeah, I like your picks. I love Mike Gesicki for myself. And yeah, I think we're going to be celebrating. It should be another great game. One definitely not to miss on Thursday night. If you're in the UK, I know it's late, but this is one of the better Thursday night football games of the season.
Absolutely. And also, we'll say this on the Sunday podcast as well, we're not just this podcast, in a sense that we are going to be replying as well in YouTube comments below, on our social media. We'll give thoughts on anything extra that you may well have, much like Jules found out last week regards to Monday Night Football. He asked for any picks, and it's not something we count to our profit loss, but we managed to give him 3 winners in that one game. So well done to Jules, and well done to anyone else who managed to follow in on that side of things. But the next time you see me, Tom, I will be in different surroundings because we've got one more day left of holiday.
Yeah, you're going to be getting out of that cupboard and coming back home, which would be lovely for the viewers. Yeah, and we've got 2 more podcasts this week. Obviously, we had loads of podcasts going on the channel last week. Hopefully you enjoyed them all, the Breeders' Cup and the 2 NFL ones. Back to normality this week. So the next time you see Luke, he'll have, much like this, a similar kind of backing, and we'll be doing the horse racing Saturday pod and the NFL Week 10 Sunday slate.
Yes, I'm going to go enjoy one final day in Florida. We're going off to a Christmas party at Magic Kingdom. So that's November. But Tom, thank you very much for being with me. I will talk to you on Thursday.
Yes, see you later. Everyone go check out that SBK link down below. And thank you very much for SBK to sponsor this podcast.
We'll talk to you guys on Thursday as well. Until then, have a very good week. Stay safe. Look after each other. Goodbye.